Hello, everyone. Good to see you here at Beyond the Page. I am
Hello.
Jennifer Crosswhite, book coach and editor, with Stephanie Fager, book marketing expert extraordinaire. I'm going to always
My new
just put that
title.
as part of your title. I love it.
I
I
love it.
love giving people titles. I think it's fun.
Did I
Uh,
tell
I
you
think
what my husband's title is that he wants to be
what?
in the business? Have I told you this?
No,
I've asked him if he would be interested in like doing a couple small things for us. He
Mhm.
said only if my title can be the director of smiles. I
I
said,
love
fine.
it.
You can be
I love
director of
it.
smiles.
That's perfect. That's perfect for Corey. I love
I
it.
know he's a hot
That's
mess.
fantastic.
I know.
But adorable, sweet, perfect
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Oh
Okay,
gosh, yes. Not many people would put up with me, Jen.
good.
But Corey does.
Yes, I do. I like you.
Yes, and the feeling is mutual, my friend.
Yes, it's fun. We have a good time together.
That we
Yeah,
do.
it's I love that. I just think it's fun. I think we should have business cards with the
Mhm.
titles change constantly on them.
Oh,
Who am
yeah.
I today?
The
And
herder of
right?
cats. Herder of
Right?
cats.
Some days that is who we are. And
Yeah.
I think it's a fun thing to think about. What is your business title today? What is your business card title today?
We should
And
change our LinkedIn headlines on the regular. Today
on
I
a
am
daily
the
basis.
ball juggler, you know?
Right. Do you remember back in the day on Facebook, it used to say something like, um, today I'm feeling, or
Yes.
today I'm thinking,
Yes.
right? To have these little prompts. And so when you see the memories come up and then you
Yeah,
only
they're
see the
weird.
answer and you're like, I wonder what
And it's funny you
comes
say
up.
that, Jen, because I go, man, was I just a really poor like sentence constructor back then? No, it was the prompts. And they were like, I am feeling,
Hmm.
now nobody cares how you're
No,
feeling.
nobody
Like
cares.
that's not,
But I feel like we
not it.
could have something like that daily
Yes.
that said, here is what I am today.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. It might be
Yeah.
today I am the writer stuck in the corner with my head down trying to get this book finished, which is actually me.
Dun dun dun. You're so
Uh,
close, Jennifer. I
no,
know
I'm
it.
not close enough. That's the problem. And
I'm
I do
putting it in
have
the universe. It's coming. It's all just
it
gonna
is.
download.
I have tied myself in a little bit of a knot, and I can't quite figure out how to unknot it.
Like
Yeah,
within the story.
in the story, in the mystery part. Yeah. So, I write the high level and I know all the high level, but then when it comes to the actual revealing of the clues, I'm like, oh crud, I just scattered all these people. How am I gonna like get them in the room and have them confess? I'm
Speaking
thinking,
of
I have some
confessions,
ideas.
I have a
Hmm.
confession. I have been thinking that at some point in my life, I think I want to write a fiction novel. You're gonna
You
have to help
totally
me.
should.
And
Yes.
I only say that because I look at the amazing brilliance of how you like think of story and even just our chats the last couple of weeks. And I thought, I don't know what that is, but I think I would truly love not only the escape that fiction reading has, but the escape
Mhm.
that fiction writing offers.
It
And
does.
I'm kind of
And,
excited about
you
another.
know, there's so many, we've been talking a lot this week, you and me and some other people about writing retreats, getting some time
Yep,
away, that we just need to carve out this space to
yep,
think, whether it's nonfiction, fiction, whatever, you need time to sit and
yep,
think. And kind of, we tend to put it all to the
absolutely.
bottom level. But creating some of that space to do that can be very, very helpful. And there's some cool things about fiction that you can do that you can't do with nonfiction. Nonfiction is
Mhm.
pretty direct,
Yep.
but with fiction, you can still get the same message across like subtly. And I don't remember the quote exactly, but there is a famous person, and it might have been C.S. Lewis,
Mhm,
but he talks
mhm,
about what kind of truths can you put in under the guise of a story.
mhm,
You might not be able to preach it to somebody directly, but in the point of a story, you can really create some
mhm.
amazing truths, which
I
sort of leads
love
into what we're talking today, which is about the lie.
a lie.
Um, so, truth and lie, those are opposite, right?
Yep.
And so, every story has a truth. Every nonfiction book has a truth. What is
Mhm,
it that you're trying to say? As we talked about, so the previous
mhm.
questions, whose story is it? Who's your
Yep.
audience? What's happening? right? Why are we writing this book? What is the point
Yes.
here?
Yep.
And in many ways, the truth is going to be what we talk about next week. We talk about theme.
Okay.
What's at stake, which we talked about last week. Why do we even care about this book?
Yes.
What's there? If
Right.
your people don't follow your steps, why should they?
Yeah.
What's gonna how will their life be better?
Right.
Right. So then that leads today to the lie. And so this is pretty common in fiction, but you don't often hear nonfiction people talking about it. But in fiction, the lie is where your character starts out and they believe something about themselves that isn't true. A message they got as a young child. I'm no good at sports. I can never lead a team. I don't deserve that kind of success, right? Some of these subconscious message we're not even really cognizant of, but we take them and we internalize them. And as we say, right, your words have power, and it's very true. Things you say to children, the way they internalize them, we carry those messages our whole lives. And so in fiction, you see this play out as the character is unpacking that lie and discovering the truth that sets them free. And so this is the journey in fiction that I take my characters on. They're unpacking a lie and they're creating something bigger, a better version of themselves, a truer version of themselves. But it's also true with nonfiction.
It is.
Because the lie is the pain point that your reader brings to your book. So we'll go back to my old financial example. The lie sometimes can be, I'm not good with money. I'm not good with numbers. I don't know how to handle money. I didn't come from a family that talked about money. All these different things, right? You could tell I couldn't sleep last night. I was listening to podcasts on money. So it's
oh my gosh. Well, that would have put me to sleep immediately. It should have. Right. Hey, there's a book, by the way, side note, that I was just listening to a podcast about. It's called Double Double. I think it's called Double Double. And it is a book, and it's on my TBR and in my Amazon cart right now, but it's about how to double your profits and whatever. It's not, I think for within a business, it sounds like a logical next step after Profit First and some of the others. So just because you talked about finances and money.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
It's an easy example. But there's a lie that your reader believes that they're bringing to the book.
The book I'll share a quote later of a book that I'm reading right now. And there is a lie baked in that. So I'm working with an author who is very passionate about hormone replacement therapy, especially around the premenopause, menopause. And then I think, if I might pronouncing this correctly, men go through andropause or something. So it's not just a female thing, but the lie is something, you and I were actually talking about before we pressed record. We live in a society where we think that, and we know that some hormone replacement therapies have really negative side effects, and others, is our perception of the concept before I ever opened the book, right? That is a lie. And then as I'm uncovering in the book, I'm realizing why that lie is real. And it's not real. It's real out there that we're hearing it. And how do you get to the truth where, hormone replacement therapy can be game changing and cardiovascular health and musculoskeletal issues and immunity, your immune system. That's not your immunity system. No, what is that called? Your immune system.
Immune system.
That's not right. That doesn't sound right. Okay, in your immune system, and then honestly, this book is about aging. So outside of all of that, also your overall kind of quality of life. And so, you mentioned like this lie. Sometimes the lies are things we feel because someone told us. Others could be lies because it's what society says, or it's a systematic understanding. Right. In this case, big pharma, right, is a big problem in this situation. But we had an author the other day on our team. We were chatting with him, and he was preparing for a thought leadership piece. And there was a question in his thought leadership article that he had to share. And it was something about how, why are you doing this? Why do you write? And how can you inspire the people through it? And he said, don't take anything for face value. Do your own research
Mm,
and figure it out. That is what has
mhm.
uncovered this path for him in his historical fiction novel series. But
Oh,
I think that
yeah.
that's true just in life.
Yep.
And I love that when we are reading books and fiction, as I'm thinking about what you were just sharing, knowing that we have to there's a progression, a change that happens, and that lie has to become known and worked through.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's not so easy.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not the easiest thing for someone just to say, "Oh, no, that's not true." Right? So I
Exactly.
think about your book, Make Your Author Impact,
Yeah.
and the lie that you're talking about in
Mhm.
there is, "Oh, I can't write a book. Oh, I can't have a speaking platform. I
Mhm.
can't have my thought leadership out there,"
I
right?
know
Those are
nothing
all
about
the
marketing.
things,
Yes.
right? Those are all the things that
Right.
you are taking them through
Right.
to unpack.
Mhm.
So, as you're
Mhm.
writing nonfiction, you have to address that. You have to address that underlying lie that your reader is believing because you're going to have to pull that apart and show them why that's not
Mhm.
true and give them steps to act
Yep.
on, even when it still feels true. Because we know
Mhm.
you can say things in your head and it takes a while for it
Mhm.
to actually get to your heart, right? You have to kind of live
Yeah.
it out for a while before it starts to feel
Yeah.
real. So you've got to
Yeah.
do that in your book. Otherwise, I mean, if we talk about, and again, I say this all the time in fiction, but it's absolutely true for nonfiction too. The best books create an emotional bond between
Mm.
the reader and the writer. And that
Mm.
is the book that gives you the word of mouth. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you have
Mhm.
got to read this book. I read this book, it was life
Yep.
changing, right?
Yep.
Because it hits something in, oh, look at, I got my little sunlight
You
sparkles
know,
in my
it's a
hair.
mustache today,
I
Jen.
know I've got a
I
sunlight
love it.
mustache. It's this time of year, the way the sun comes into my
Here, you
office, it'll
have
be
that
for
one,
like
and
5
I just
minutes.
have, let's see. Have you ever seen someone do this? Oh man, I did it wrong. I'm putting it on my
Here.
finger. You
There
can't
we
see
go.
it. It didn't work. It didn't work. You have yours.
See,
No,
the sun's already moved.
it's already moved. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And you just mentioned something I want to add on, because this lie, as people and or characters believe, it doesn't get shaken easily, right? You have to
Right.
we have to, it's a constant mindset. And I love how you said it goes to go from the head to the heart. And sometimes that means, many times it means, you need people in your corner to remind you of it. And so
Yes.
that's why it's important to be surrounded by people, but that are cheerleaders for you. But that's what a book can do, like a nonfiction book especially, can do for the reader. And that's what some of the best feedback that I've gotten so far from my newest book was, I feel like you're my cheerleader. I feel like I have a coach. I feel like someone believes in me when I
Yes.
don't believe in myself. Well, that's the goal, right? Like,
Yes.
help them identify the lie, know that they can work through it. Now, that I had this quick start idea that one day I'll write a fiction book, my brain is going down this path of course, the main character in the book, in a fiction book, needs a transformation. By the way, you're Rudolph now with a white
I
nose.
know. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. But
Keeps changing.
it is. But I love this concept of a lie because we live with them daily, Jen.
Yes, we do. We don't even know. We don't
Mm-mm.
even know half the stuff that we
No.
believe and that we have internalized and all of that. And so, and I think this is why also, as we've talked about, like you just said, surrounding yourself with people. But, a part of why you and I are talking about having writing retreats and having workshops,
Mhm.
things of different lengths with different goals. But
Yeah.
there's something, and I just came back, you and I both came back
Mhm.
from retreats a couple weekends ago,
Yep.
and there's just something about being around people who are trying to do the same thing you are. It's like, oh, you get me.
That's
Like
what I was about to say. They get
you
me.
get, yes, like you are trying to all do this crazy thing called write a book, that most people in your world may or may not think is a good idea, or may not have any
Yeah.
idea about it
Right.
or care, or you get
Right.
those people who say, oh yeah, I always wanted to write a book. The next time I have a long weekend, I'm going to write a book. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you do that.
Yeah. Have fun. Have fun.
And that's
Or those people who just there was a guy, sorry, side note, there was a guy at the retreat that I went to. He has been trying to write a book for years. He was my
Mhm.
favorite person at this. Well, I loved everybody at the retreat, but I really, really loved this man. He was newly retired, and he actually made it to one day of the retreat because he had something else happen in his life where he couldn't come back. It was really sad. But something he said to me at the end of the first day of the retreat was so eye-opening. He goes, I didn't know how much work it took to do this.
Mhm.
He said,
Right.
he has had his doctorate and done theses and dissertations
Mhm.
and blah, all these things. He said, I have to go back and look. I went back and looked. And in one book, when you go to the back of the book and you look at the bibliography pages,
Mhm.
you realize that those are people who then got like all of this was synthesized from
Yes.
hours and years and decades of people setting aside time to
Yeah.
leverage a book as a tool to share and change.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it was eye-opening to me because he's a part of it, but he actually felt seen at the retreat, but he also helped
Mhm.
all of us feel seen too,
Yeah.
because you don't understand what, what author, unless you're an author that has done it or you're in the process of it, you don't understand what it means when you get the itch and you have to get it out. Like those days where I don't see my kids all weekend and I'm at home
Mhm.
and other people be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's time. Like it has to come out. It
Mhm.
will not stay in anymore."
Yeah.
Or the writer's block or the pressure, like Jen, that you put yourself under at the moment, right? Or the pickle that you've got your characters in. Like,
Right.
not everybody understands because it's such a nuanced world that us authors live in.
It's true. And I think too, one of the things is when you've been a professional at something. So again, let's go back to the
Mm.
business example. So say you've been a financial professional for a while, you tend to forget what were those early
Mm.
days like when you were just
Yeah.
learning about finances, when you were just learning about whatever it is your expertise is, right? You have this long growth pattern. And so it's very important that you take yourself back to those early
Yeah.
days and think about what were those emotions? What
Mm.
were those feelings? What was the lie you believed?
Yep.
What started you on the journey that you're on now to get you where you are? Now, you may not put all of that in the book, but you
Right.
have to go back in
Yeah.
time to those feelings. And so what I see a lot of
Mm.
times is that professionals, they're very good at what they do, but they're talking up here,
Mhm.
right? And they forget that your audience is still down here dealing with that lie. And like you said, all of that research and history and learning, everything, you're the expert, you have all that, but
Yep.
you've got to somehow synthesize it and make it into the bite size.
Yep.
Someone says, put the cookies on the bottom shelf, put them there
Mm.
so people can access them. It's not a hard
Mhm.
thing to do. And sometimes making something simple and going back to those days is
Yeah.
sometimes the hardest part of the book. It can be very, very difficult.
Yep.
And you might
Oh,
have to
yeah.
spend some time thinking about, because it's not really comfortable to think about, what were those lies that I believed? How
Uh-uh.
did I overcome them? What were some
Yes.
of my insecurities and things I didn't think I was wired to do? How have I grown
Mm.
as a professional in this
Mhm.
area? And so, how
Mhm.
do I go back to the beginning and say, okay, this is where
Mhm.
we started, this is where my reader is starting,
Mhm.
and create that emotional I've been there, because we
Mhm.
have that when we're in person a lot of times, right? Like
Yep.
at the retreats and stuff, we have it more in person.
Yeah.
And so in a book you have to work a little bit harder because you don't have body language, you don't have tone of voice, you don't have that, when someone's telling you and you lean in, you're like, yes, I get that, I've totally been there, right? So you have to
Mm.
create that in the book through those emotional memories. And that's why story is so
Mm.
powerful. All these things, I give, is it, oh, I have it. Where did I put it? Can't see it right at the moment. It's probably on my desk. One example I give of a really, really great introduction is Michael Hyatt's book, Free to Focus. I think it's called Free to Focus.
Mm.
And at the beginning, he talks about how he thought he was having a heart attack. And so the book opens with him thinking he's having a heart attack. And the result was it was actually a panic attack or a stress attack or something. And it
Mm.
changed, but it was the catalyst that changed how he did business and how he launched and how he did all of these things that came after it.
Mm.
so the lie he believed at the beginning was, if I just work harder, if I work more hours, if I work longer, I'm going to be successful. And his body said, no, that is definitely a lie. His body
Yeah.
told him the truth, right? So that's the story he went back
Mm.
to. So, I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of a vulnerable thing to say. Hey, I did it wrong at the
Right.
beginning.
Right.
I was living in this lie at the beginning. But guess what? Because of that, I can relate to where you are now. Here's the journey I went on. Here's the journey I want to take you on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you want to stay as, oh, I'm the expert and I want to come from this position of expert, you're going to totally miss out on that relating to your readers at that beginning story lie. This is what I used to believe kind of level. So
Yeah, well, and as business owners and entrepreneurs, also, like I love what you're saying, and the fact that the only way to truth is to understand what the lie was, right? Like
yeah,
that there's a level of awareness. And
yeah.
so if you are, and not if, all of us are telling ourselves lies on the daily as well. So not only is understanding the lie important in how you're crafting your story, it's also important in how you are talking to your potential and current clients, and how a book can be a tool for that. But it's also important for you to investigate the lies you tell yourself.
So
And
true. So true.
right? I mean, I have plenty, Jen. You know, 'cause I'll text
We
you.
all do, right?
Right? But knowing the people who know you and are gonna tell you if the lie is real or if it
Yeah.
is a lie. And so if we know that, story and life and progression and growth is this pivot from lie to truth, then we should, as people, as amazing bridge builders, that's what we are, bridge builders, us authors. We should know that that there are lies that we're dealing with, and it's our job to also uncover that for ourselves. Because the more that we can unpack the things that are holding us back, the more that we can help other people, and the more that we can help other people by identifying the lies that they're faced with, the more we can help them. And sometimes the way that we pull people in is by speaking to directly to the lie, like
Yes.
speaking directly, saying, I know, does marketing feel overwhelming and daunting? You don't know where to start. You see all the things, you don't know which are the
Mhm.
right things. Maybe I should do this thing. These are all lies that people are telling you for different reasons.
Yes.
Let me share with you an easier way. So actually, a post I did this week, I said something about, there are so many things I didn't know. It's in relation to the podcast that just released yesterday,
Mhm.
on the Empowered Author podcast. There were so many things I didn't know about running and growing a business. Like I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a guide. I was making all these mistakes, but I share this with you because the lies that the people out there that are living with, like I said, I want to save you from getting skinned knees. You don't have to get skinned knees.
Right.
Nobody likes a skinned knee. And somebody posted in the comment, they go, I hate skin knees. I'm like, yeah, let's
Right.
not get skin knees, and let's save you money and time.
Yeah.
You can propel faster once you have an awareness of the lie, and then you find the trusted source to help you really uncover the truth. So yeah, that is interesting,
Good.
Jen. That
Yeah.
is good. I know. I love all that. And it's really,
It's a good
I'm like
it's a
sitting here
process,
thinking,
right?
right.
Yeah.
And if you can't, if you had somebody yesterday on a webinar actually also ask, what if I don't know who my target audience is or what have you? This is
Mhm.
a good question too for this. If you can't identify what the lies are, then it likely is an indicator you don't know who your target audience is.
Right. They're
And if
very
you
much tied together.
They are. And if you don't, whoops, I'm dropping stuff. If you don't know who that is, or you should do some research and start asking people, because
Yes.
the best form of marketing, in my opinion, doesn't require you to go outwardly speak. It requires you to stop talking and to listen. And people will
Mhm.
tell you things. They will identify your lies, their lies. And as entrepreneurs, we have the potential and the opportunity and the blessing to be able to create solutions to help people
Mhm.
navigate through the lies to truth.
That's very true. And that's what a wonderful privilege that we have to do that,
Exactly.
right? I mean, and this is the thing, if you
Exactly.
keep your knowledge to yourself, you're letting people
Selfish.
stay trapped in these lies. And
Yeah.
they aren't going to necessarily find their way through the truth and you have the key to that, right? You have the ability to give that to them. So yes, it's scary, and yes, it feels
Mhm.
vulnerable, but you're doing a wonderful thing for people of showing them a way forward, saving
Yeah.
them from some of the skin knees that you went
Yeah.
through. You're gonna
I
save them
know,
some
no
pain.
stitches required. There's a
Yes.
shared author friend that you and I have, I won't say her name, who, because she might be listening at some point, who, I told her the other day, you're letting perfection stand in the way of
Yeah.
your ability to do something and change a person.
Mhm.
Don't.
It's so true,
We
right?
have the privilege. This is a
Yep.
privilege. This is an honor
Yes.
that we get to do. And
Mhm.
so becoming the like Sherlock Holmes detective of lies is
Yeah.
something that very few have the opportunity to do for another. Don't
Mhm.
take that honor lightly. Like see that as a really meaningful part of your own life and
Yes.
embrace it and allow that to be a guide for how you're talking to people, you're leveraging it in your marketing, but also how you're building your book because fiction or nonfiction, people want to go from one stage to the other. There will be need to be a transformation
Mhm.
in the book.
Yes.
Books that
Yes.
don't have that, I am reading one that doesn't have that, and they are a bit flat. You don't want a flat book.
Right.
You want
Yes.
a story arc. You want that journey, and we're all on it
Absolutely.
anyways.
We are. It's just part of life. And that's why
Yeah.
that journey feels so natural and it resonates
Mhm.
because we are always on a journey. And if
Yeah.
you're not, why are you not on this journey
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
learning and growing and changing and becoming more
Mhm.
of who we should actually be? And so, yes, a
Mhm.
book that that doesn't have that is going to be very dry, very academic, and not create that emotional connection
Mhm.
with your reader, which is exactly what you want. And
Yeah,
I
and
will say,
right.
every book that I've written has changed me as well. I mean,
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
grown. I always say, even in fiction, the lessons I'm putting my characters through are things either I have just learned or I'm in the process of learning.
And then you texted me the other day and said, "Sometimes the things I write about happen." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Don't write about the bad things, Jen. Don't."
Well, you
No
kind
karma.
of have to because you have to put your characters through some stuff.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, that
Well,
is
that's
a
no, that's
challenge.
crazy. I have a quote, if it's okay, I'll share
Yes,
for
sure. Share
so the
your
book I was
quote.
just talking to you all about with regards to hormone replacement is a book I'm reading right now with an amazing doctor. And it's not quite out yet, or I would put the plug in for it. I don't think it's out yet. But in the foreword, which is written, I believe, from someone else. Yep. There is the first line of the whole book that I think really aligns to our role and the honor that we're given or we've been gifted with to change people through and change readers through the written word has an alignment with this. It says, "Would you like to live as fully and with as much health as possible as you age?" And of
Wouldn't we
course,
all,
well,
right?
right?
Like,
This book is obviously in connection with, the importance of hormone replacement therapy. But outside of that, Jen, I just keep thinking,
I love that quote though,
right?
right?
The more that we have stamina, have health, have our minds focused, have our bodies in check, the more that we can serve and be vessels
Mhm.
for goodness and for
Right.
change. Um, and if we and unfortunately we don't always take care of ourselves first. It's like the oxygen mask.
Especially, yes, especially as women, right? We feel
Yeah.
very much take care of our
Yeah.
kids, take care of our families. There's always that burden. And
Mhm.
so it is really hard sometimes, again, to create that space like we've talked about. Sometimes these
Yep.
weekends, long weekends away, where we can pour into ourselves so then we can pour out to other people. And
And
so
the
I don't know.
older we get, like the wiser we get. And if we're not caring for ourselves
Mhm.
and putting health first, it's some of our most wisest moments where we would have the knowledge to be able to share. We wouldn't have the energy or the focus to do it, right? Like
Right.
we've got to take care. We've got to. You've got to take care
Yes.
of you. Your what is? I always pray for health, happiness, and safety. And sometimes
Mhm.
I do at the other, but I always start with health. And it's
Mhm.
because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Right. So true. That's so
You
true.
can't be happy if you're not feeling well. And anyways, this book has been so enlightening, and I just always love how authors give perspective like this and are able to share
Yes.
their story and their kind of expertise, but remind us of the bigger picture of life. So, anyways, thanks for letting me share that.
I love that. I love that. And I love how it's always funny how we just, grab whatever we're working on or
Uh-huh.
reading at the time. And there's always something in there that relates to what we're talking about, because these are sort of eternal truths, as you
They
might
are.
say. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
things that are great. Well, next week we are going to talk about the theme, and that is basically the truth of what it is that you're writing about. So I'm excited to talk about that. I know people don't like the word theme because it sounds like an English essay.
Yeah, we're not English people.
But I'm gonna like redeem that word and help you understand why it's so important to have a theme to what you're writing about. So we will talk about that next week.
Jen, this whole series has been so enlightening for me, and I'm just really excited and honored to get to walk it through with you and take a look at it from the marketing perspective. So thank you. I can't wait to wrap up this particular kind of season next week, and it'll be awesome. It has been fun.
It's been fun. I really enjoyed unpacking some of these big rocks, I like to call it, to help people organize their book, because a lot of times it seems like such an overwhelming task. You don't know where to begin. Well, start with these 5 rocks. If you have these, and then you can kind of break them down into smaller and smaller chunks as you need.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
Well, authors, your words have power, your book has power, and so does your message. So we are inviting you to take that message to the page and beyond, and join us here each week on Beyond the Page as we talk about books and marketing and how to help you use those tools to grow your business. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.